Good evening. Welcome to this month's Town Administrators Report. I'm David Watts Jr., and with me is our Town Administrator, Steve Maio. Steve, welcome.
Thank you, David. Great to be here.
We survived Saturday.
We survived Saturday town meeting. For a fall town meeting, having just 8 articles on it, you think we would have been out of there in half an hour? But not the case.
Ew. And let's deal with the giant article at the outset and put it away. First of all, we had probably the most we've had at town meeting for some time. 543 is what has been recorded by the
That was the high
yeah.
number of checked in. Well, that's great because 513 of them voted on the main article, on the main event, Article 4. So that was good. So most of them stayed.
Yep.
Or most of them voted, and 500 is a very big number, other than numbers for debt exclusions and things like that. So that's a big number for a bylaw. Anyway.
Also kind of shows that Saturday works.
It is, I do feel that there are people that Saturday's better for. I think there are also people that the weeknights are better for. And I understand, we got later on into an article, the last article, where there was some concerns that some people, because of their faith, can't come out on a Saturday morning.
Right.
And that was unfortunate that there was an article that, may have, that spoke to their faith to a certain extent. But, there's also a lot of people that, in today's world, they work on the West Coast,
Mm-hmm.
or their company works on the West Coast. I had a woman who wanted to come and vote on Article 4 and said, it's great that it's a Saturday because I don't have to take a day off. If it were a weeknight, the business I work for is on the West Coast, so I'm working until 7, 8 o'clock at night,
Mm-hmm.
Or 9 o'clock at night, and
Mm-hmm.
I can't
Mm-hmm.
get out unless I want to take a day off and lose pay.
Right.
So we balance it. I know the town council wrestles with it. We've kind of tried to do the spring being the Monday, Thursday, the fall, November being the Saturday. Hoping that the weather's not that good, so
Right.
you give up a good
Right.
Saturday. But the weather's been great a few Saturdays, things that we've had town meeting in the fall. So we do wrestle with it, and we are really very much aware that, nothing's perfect for everybody.
Right.
Maybe if we had a representative town meeting, it would be different. We'll have a whole other show on that someday. At an open town meeting, anybody can come, so it's hard to.
Well, and the fact that most of those people even stayed after Article 4 was completed.
Yeah, we had
for the remainder was good to see.
Right, because we
too.
had some actually, we had a couple of town articles after Article 4 that was very, very important. One was the clerical contract for our
Yep.
clerical union,
Yep.
Which passed unanimously. And after that was an article to supplement the water and sewer budget, mainly because we're getting too good at conserving water and aren't using enough water. So we've got to kind of rethink that now, because that's how that budget gets funded, is by gallons being used.
Right. Right.
So, a long, a wet summer does not help the water department. So, it kind of depends on. But I was impressed that a good majority stayed.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually with a high visibility article like Article 4, once it's done, huge exodus out of the room. So not to see that on Saturday was really quite cool.
And I guess for those of our viewing audience, that Article 4 was the MBTA zoning article.
Yep. 40A.
40A, as it's affectionately
And
known.
twice there was a motion to move the question.
Right.
The first one was defeated, 272 nay to 192 yay.
Yeah.
And then the second one passed, and that came up with the motion to accept, which was yay 309 and nay 204. So
Yeah.
it wasn't that far apart in the numbers.
No, it wasn't, and I I do not personally normally vote, and I didn't this time either, on articles to move the question, because I think everyone should have an ability to speak. And I do think, however, after 2 hours, I think of the topic, talking on the topic,
Yeah,
I think that the obviously the body felt, and by 300 votes felt, because you need a 2/3 vote to move the question, felt that, you know what, I think everything said that needs to be said. There's nothing new.
right,
We're ready to make a decision,
right.
which was good, and the numbers were very close, but you really don't know. You don't know who. Some people will never vote on a moving the question. So there's that thing. And just because someone moved the question as you did, that doesn't mean you're voting the same way. So I think it's
Right,
always an interesting dynamic to watch
right.
that at town meeting. But I thought our planning department and the subcommittee did a great job on this. I mean, this is a tough. It's a tough article because, and as all zoning articles are, whenever you're dealing with property rights, there's always a lot of discussion from, on all sides of the issue. And, in 2015, the town on its own volition, created an atmosphere that would allow for some of the buildings right around the train station.
Right,
And it did just that.
right,
It created Grayson Lofts, 2 developments on Foundry Street, one that's already done, one that's being built, the Tonos building. Um, so a lot of development occurred under the apartment building agreement. A lot of these developments occurred through zoning changes
Right.
that we did.
right.
The difference there, that was our zoning change. We weren't told to do it. It wasn't forced down our throat.
And I think that's the
different
core
parameters,
of
and
the
that
problem with
exactly.
40A is that the state's coming in and saying, you are going to do this.
That was the core. And they really weren't giving us, in our case, credit for what we have done on our own.
Right,
So the subcommittee did a lot of outreach on this. We had a show about it in the fall.
yes,
Really talked to a lot of people and took a lot of the input, and really crafted a zoning district, an overlay district that really captured. I love that word, captured a lot of what this town had already voted to do and do. And was it a perfect plan? It wasn't. I think someone got up and said that, which is a great line. I love that. Perfection is the enemy of the good, sort of thing, which I love that line.
mm-hmm,
And I think that was probably part of the sentiment. So I was very happy with the outcome, and I was also very happy, for the most part, with the tone.
mm-hmm,
I think there was what it should be. You should be able to state your opinion and add and ask questions.
yes,
And I think that worked out very, very well. I mean, there were always a few at town meeting that maybe come off a little more forcefully than others do. But I thought that really everyone who spoke, or nearly everyone that spoke, was very much cordial, to the point, respectful of others' views. And I think that's what really makes me very pleased when I leave a town meeting, that there
Mhm.
wasn't any real, no one was really vilified at town meeting, and I like that. I mean, for the most part.
yeah. But the bottom line is 40A was passed,
Correct.
and despite the 2 lawsuits out there by Rockport and by
Milton.
Milton, this thing is going ahead for the moment.
Yes.
We'll see how those lawsuits.
Right.
So it
Right.
possibly may become a moot point.
Right.
We shall see.
And we're not going to know. We would not have, obviously we did not know in time
Right.
for town meeting. And we knew we weren't going to know in time. And what we're hearing unofficially is that somewhere around the end of the year, around the end of the year, the SJC will release a decision.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows if that's what's going to happen? But I thought it was a good showing by the community. I mean, when you get 500 people out there on what was a really nice
Right.
November Saturday, it shows that there was passion and people care about the town, and that's one of the more important things.
That's the best part of all,
Yeah.
is that people, regardless of which side they're on, ultimately the focus was on what's the best for the town,
Yes.
and that was the
Yes.
thing. Article 1, we accepted the report.
Yeah, I think that Article 1 is my annual report. No one was there to hear that. At that, people were filing in. But, Article 1 is, to me, it's really a report card on how we did, and how Town Hall did, how the department heads did, how I did, how we did in managing the money
Right.
from the year before. We are fortunate enough that the town votes us a budget way back in April,
Mm-hmm.
and then we come back in a year and a half later and
Mm-hmm.
say, how did we do?
Mm-hmm.
We tell you how we think we did. And, I'm very proud of the departments. They worked very hard, returned money to the town, didn't spend it, if they didn't need it. And we ended up in very good shape. And I think the town deserves that, not because it's in the charter they deserve a report,
Right.
but they deserve a report because they should know
Right.
what's going on. And, the report gets put out on the website usually, I think this year it was almost 4 weeks before the meeting. It's usually at least a couple of weeks so people get to digest it and look at it. So, no one should be walking into town meeting with any surprise about what happened. And I know our people take great pride in that. So I'm very thankful to my whole staff that helps me put this together, that puts up with me and my crankiness on the week before town meeting to make sure everything's there. But I do know that there was a lot of people checking in when Article 1 was going off, but it was all written down in here too,
Right.
so you can see it, and
Right.
and you can ask questions at any time.
Article 2 also passed, and that was money from free cash
Yep.
for computing the
Right.
tax rate for the current fiscal
For
year.
the current fiscal year, and again, that is a article that we have every fall.
Yep.
It's one of our normal articles, traditional articles. And really what this article, what's maybe a little bit different about us and other communities is that we don't go in setting the budget for the fiscal year, thinking that we're going to get every penny of local receipts
Mm-hmm.
that we have in the past. A lot of things can happen. There can be a recession where people don't go out to restaurants, they don't go to hotels. Car excise taxes, people don't buy new cars. We don't know that. All we really know going in when we set our budget is what we taxed real estate last year, what is 2.5% over that. We don't even know what we've gotten new until
Right.
September, August. So Article 2, which is always Article 2, in my experience here, just says that, hey, we realize that we're not going to the state saying we're going to get all this money again from local receipts. We're going to use some of our savings, which we know we're 99% sure we're going to replenish.
Yeah.
And so that's the dance we've been doing every year. It's worked out very well, I think. I know that Town Accountant Kevin Gill agrees with me. Finance Committee, Town Council agree with this approach. And we'll replenish this year. We're off to a good start. It's, again, one of those articles I know that I can see people like glazing over, but I think it's nice that people trust the administration, trust the Town Council, trust the Finance Committee. So you've had a lot of eyes looking at it and how this plays out. So it's it's one of those that is really good. And I'm glad when those two are done, because then I can kind of breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief.
Article 3 was the success of the MGLD's move towards solar.
Yeah, I think that was part of it. I mean, I think it's also part that the the foresight when the Galvin was built, that it
Yep.
would be wired for solar, which means that the roof was able to handle the arrays, that there are conduits
Yep.
that will come down from the roof already embedded in the building, so you don't have to re-drill holes in and bring that down. That will bring that power from the rays of the sun. Chair McLean was very, very interested in this article in this process for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Was very active in looking at this, but what really made this a very, very, very palatable for the town was, it's the right thing and a good thing to do anyway. We're going to save $100,000 a year on our electric bills. Fabulous, right there. That's money that either can go back to the general fund, or more than likely, let's be honest, the school department will use it for programs and what have you, and that's great too, without increasing the budget. So that was part of it. Part of it was the town council, because the cost is $1 million. Council put in, 200,000 plus of ARPA money into that is great. The MLD, because the MLD will get the renewable energy credits, which means that there is a process statewide, probably nationwide, that you need to show that you are using renewable energy, and this gives our local department, gas and light department, the ability to say that and to expand into other programs. There's a lot of value for them with that, so they kicked in $200,000 worth. So all of a sudden we're down to $571,000 that we need to pay out.
Right.
But that's not the whole story. Okay, there is a ability, and it's non-discretionary, for us to file for federal tax credits, even though we are a nonprofit. Specifically in the Inflation Reduction Act, I've been to seminars on this, and it's in the act itself. Municipalities are considered for this purpose nonprofits and eligible to get 30% of the cost back as a tax credit. Okay, so that looks like that's another close to 300,000.
Right.
So now we're down to putting solar arrays on the roof of the Galvin for less than $300,000. The payback is less than 4 years.
Yeah.
It's a great deal. And I look forward to, as soon as we can get the contract signed, when we've gone through the whole potential referendum period on this under the charter. There's a 12-day period before any article is set in stone.
Yep.
And I'm looking so forward to being able to go and file for those federal tax credits and then actually get them. I don't think we'll get them until next fiscal year. Hence, we had to go for the full 571. But if we get them this fiscal year, that just means we'll use less of taxpayer money, tax levy in this fiscal year. So that really made it exciting. And it's just between the Galvin, between the DPW buildings that have solar, between the municipal light department that has solar, between the high school that's not only being built solar ready, but is being built solar active.
Right.
And the energy park across the street that the vocational school is going to use and the high school is going to use.
Which will also be energy active.
Energy active.
Yep.
We are really trying to not only help making a greener planet, but reduce our costs, which is this is really a win-win. A number of people on the finance committee and elsewhere kept calling this a no-brainer. And I think the vote at town meeting was pretty much unanimous on this one.
Yes, and also it's another great step forward in MGLD's program of alternative energies to power the town.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Big step from a century ago where their building is today was the town power plant.
Was a coal-fired? Coal-fired, yes. Let's not talk about that.
And we had also, budget-wise, Article 6 was money from the sewer retained earnings and from the water retained earnings to supplement their budget for fiscal 2025.
Yep. And Article 5 was
the collective bargaining.
The collective bargaining,
yeah. Yeah.
So those are really good.
So the last two were citizen initiatives, which we always get a citizen initiative, at least one. This one was brought by Eric Reed, who's been known in town for decades.
Yes.
And he was looking for a requirement to the building inspector to do an annual report listing new major buildings
Right.
inspected, and he had several things. And that one was defeated.
Well, it was defeated, and I think there was, I think there was some technical issues with it. And one thing is that citizen motions or citizen warrant articles, you need to have 10 signatures,
Right,
okay?
right.
But they're not, these articles aren't vetted and proofread and fixed by town council, council,
Mm-hmm.
council, because they are not the town's motions, they're a specific town person's motions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, we can't pick and choose who our town attorney will help out. So we all vote nobody on them to make it fair. So I think there was a little confusion here, and I really think on this one, what is the definition of major was a question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not so sure the actual article area, the bylaw section that was quoted was correct. So I think what really is suggested was suggested that night, and that actually Tom Mullen had suggested before to the proponent, was bring this to the bylaw review committee, which is looking at all our bylaws,
Mm-hmm.
and they're coming back in the spring anyway, most likely, and then let's look at it then.
Right.
And I think over the years, one thing that there aren't many absolutes about town meeting,
Mm-hmm.
but I do think that at town meeting, one absolute is that if there's some confusion, people vote no, and in this case, they voted to indefinitely postpone, which is no for that actual meeting.
Yeah.
And that's what happened there. And that is true democracy, right? Anybody get 10 signatures, you can bring an article forward. And that's so that's what happened with that one. And I'm sure something will come back, after going through the bylaw review committee, and
We may see that again in
we
the
made
spring.
something similar, something
Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
vein. Yeah.
But it's good to have citizen initiatives too.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And having only 10 signatures to be able to get it on the ballot, I think is an important part of
It's not a
the
big burden.
process.
It's not a big burden.
No.
No.
No, but it helps the process.
Right.
The last one could have been very divisive.
It could have been. It is very similar to an article that was brought up in the spring.
Yep.
That did get a little bit dicey.
Yes.
If you may recall.
I do.
Being there, I am again, kudos to the town meeting members, town meeting membership that came that day, because I don't think anybody, there was no vitriol on this article. There was a discussion, there was a presentation, and there were, I think the vast majority said, hey, we really don't feel that this is an appropriate article for us to handle at town meeting. I think they felt that this is a global issue, and I think that I think one young man got up there and said that there's sometimes when we just act as a country, and this should be acting as a country, not every local municipality. I kind of agree that this is not a forum for our local town meeting, and I think it was the first person up, well known to the community, Dan Lieber, chair of our bylaw review committee, spoke very eloquently on it, and I think expressed a lot of sympathy for everybody in this situation, in this area of the world. How can you not? But I think he set a really good tone that this just wasn't the spot for it, and I think that resonated, and it was quite, expeditiously handled. So I was happy to see that personally.
All in all, it ended after about close to 4 hours.
Close to 4 hours, yeah. I was, and the Galvin Auditorium works very well. I mean, I think there are about 700 seats. 500, were there fairly comfortably. If everybody moved in, right, there would be more area on the edges. But I think the tellers, the town clerk, town moderator, everybody did a great job. So I was very, very pleased with the tone, the results, and the participation.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was really good.
It was. It was an excellent town meeting. And they do work on Saturdays.
And they do work on Saturdays, yeah.
Going on to, just some, we did a show earlier on the rubber speed bumps that were put up on Farm Street.
Yeah.
They're gone.
They're gone. They're gone for the winter.
Seems a little early.
Well, you don't know what's going to happen. We usually look around November 15th as taking them down. And they were removed kind of the same day that, or the same time frame that the lot up on Hemlock Road got finished, the student lot. And that looks really good. In fact, before our show here, because it was kind of daylight, I did take a ride through there, and it looks really good. So it was kind of the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they did their job. I think the speed bumps did their job. I think now we'll hopefully see more of the parking off of Farm Street and up on a lot on Hemlock, and that will help with the whole situation a little bit. But I think people need to really, and I just came through, and people seem to be waiting for the bump, so they were really slowing down. I hope that's muscle memory for everybody, because you really want to go slowly, particularly during school,
Yeah.
and when the elementary school particularly is coming out, because
Oh, sure.
those kids are small. I mean, you have to really look for them.
This is true.
But they did do their job, and I think that safety was the number one item, and so I'm very pleased about that.
Now, if it was that successful on Farm Street, are there thoughts of deploying those in other parts of towns where the schools
Yeah,
are
I mean,
affected?
I think that Traffic Advisory Committee has some data to look at now.
Mm-hmm.
And they certainly will look at that, because there are areas that we certainly need more traffic calming.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, everything's really open. And the other thing is that with the traffic, we're looking at this new software that can really look at every street in town and can drill down, what time of day it is, what's the volume, what's the speed,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a really, really, technology is going so far ahead. We no longer have to put a counter out there and see about that and everything.
Yep.
So I think that in real time, we'll be able to kind of make some real time decisions on that. So those will be looked at. I mean, it worked.
Yep.
It worked here. Not everybody liked it, and I get it. Not everybody likes everything, but it did slow down people, and that's what it was meant to do. And people were safe, which
Mhm.
was
Mhm.
the number one priority.
Which was the point of the exercise.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. Well, we only have a couple minutes left, but what do we have coming up in the next couple weeks for the town that is holiday oriented?
Well, there's a number of items going on in the town. Number one, let's start with Thanksgiving. So on next Tuesday night, at the Baptist Church, the newly built Baptist Church is
Beautiful building.
Beautiful building, really nice inside. A lot of natural lighting. Really is an exciting, cheerful place to be in. Really, really bright and cheery. Is ecumenical service on I think it's the 20th. And
Today's the 20th.
today's the 20th, so it's the 20. It's the 26th. It's the
Okay.
26th. It's next Tuesday, and I find that this ecumenical service that the Council of Clergy has been doing it, for the last few years,
Mm-hmm.
is really a very, very uplifting service. It's just seems to be about goodness and kindness and sense of community.
Mm-hmm.
And what a great way to kind of shepherd in the holiday season
Mhm,
after that.
mhm.
So I really enjoy that. There's a lot of music in it, and I was talking with Pastor Dry today, who is the pastor of the Baptist Church, and he was saying that they're all kind of getting together to work on this song that it sounds a very much, well, it's Rabbi Hirsch's song that they're working on together.
Right.
So he says, you feel like you should be dancing in a circle when it's going on. And I think that's great. So that's a great event. And then Hartshorn House is right on the heels of that. I think it's the next weekend. Is having their open house, and this is all out there on the website. Really kind of a fun, cool place to go to see, hey, what was it like back in, the late 1600s? And
Right.
the Hartshorn House, which is such a gem, is nicely appointed and nicely decorated for the holiday season, and that's a real fun event too. And then the schools will have programs and everything.
Well, and the Lions Club will be bringing Santa to town
Santa will
very
become. We're
soon.
going to have a Santa parade.
Yep.
Like we've had
Through town.
Through town. That was during COVID. That was one of the, I guess, one of the highlights of COVID. Right. People didn't get a chance to see Santa, and this was a way that Santa came
Right.
around. And the police and fire that escort it, they really want to continue doing it. They really like it. And there are Toys for Tots bins is one at the police stations, and I know a lot of the churches are collecting clothing and for people less fortunate than us. So there's a lot of things to do. I think this Saturday, today's the 20th. What's that? The 22nd, 23rd is Local Business Saturday. So the shops are already out there and ready to roll. So please go out there. So and then of course. We'll be lighting the holidays up at the Common probably the first week of December. So check the town website for the dates. They're great events for the kids. They're free, which is nice. You might have to get a hot chocolate afterwards, but really some good stuff. Very special place.
And we'll have a lot to talk about to wrap up the year next month.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
So far, a good year, I think.
Hopefully it'll stay that way.
Hopefully it will still stay that way. And we can actually, I don't know if you can hear it at home, but we can actually hear a little bit of the construction going on behind us for the high school.
The progress is amazing.
And it is amazing. One event that will happen in December is the topping off ceremony.
Yep.
And that means that's the last piece of steel that goes up. And it really means that you can really visualize the building and that's great. You got that steel out of the ground.
Yep.
And I think very quickly, it's a milestone in many ways. And then kind of closing it in takes a little more time than you think. But that's okay.
Right. Installing all the services and the wiring and the
that gets
piping.
a little bit more, but it's a very special time.
Something we'll have to maybe show the progress in a show
Absolutely.
next year.
Well, maybe we'll do it on site.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Sounds like fun. Well, I wish everyone a very happy and safe Thanksgiving. And we will see you in December. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.